Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the dojo, and welcome to the Way of the Dragon. I am Sensei Kevlar. I want to start by talking a little bit about the proper mindset for what it is that we're going to be doing. We're going to start by doing a deep dive into technical fundamentals in exactly the same way that we did a deep dive into technical fundamentals in the Way of the Trader into charting and technical analysis and fundamental analysis and applying strategies and planning. We're going to be doing a deep dive into the way markets actually work. Because the Way of the Dragon is about creating signals for traders to follow. And in order to create signals for the traders to follow, you need to understand the concept of market making. Now, when I talk about market making, there's a number of different strategies, and how you apply your strategy, how you apply your discipline to your trade is going to be up to you. How you do it is up to you. And ethics is something that I absolutely would love to be able to teach you in a class. It's not. What I can tell you is that people can use this in very unethical ways. And if you choose to do that, well, I hope you don't sleep very well at night, frankly. I hope that you think long and hard about ways to make what it is that you're doing and ways to make what it is that you are creating and the opportunities that you are making for people genuine, as opposed to doing things like pump and dumps and stuff like that. And we'll talk about the difference, and we'll talk about the way in which that we can, way in which we can create these signals. But right now I want to talk about mindset. Mindset's really important. As you learned in the Way of the Trader, in the first dojo series, mindset really became the key to understanding where it was we were going. And so I want to give you some perspective with regards to mindset, with regards to where we're going now. What you see in front of you is the Wikipedia page for Latin. Now, Latin, for most, intents and purposes, is basically a dead language, which is to say that there's no real native speakers. There is certainly, Latin remains the official language of the Holy See and the Roman Rite of the Catholic Church. But, it's one of those things that has sort of fallen out of style. There's other languages which are dead. They're no longer natively spoken. And then there's languages which are living. English is an example of a living language. Latin is one of those interesting languages because it's highly inflected. It has 3 distinct genders, 7 noun cases, 4 verb conjugations, 4 verb principal parts, 6 tenses, 3 persons, 3 moods, 2 voices, 2 aspects, and 2 numbers. It's one of those really interesting language because it's one of the languages that English derives from. So people don't necessarily learn Latin for the reason that they're actually going to speak Latin. The reason that they learn Latin is because it makes them a better English speaker. Understanding this highly inflected language with all these genders and noun cases and verb conjugations and tensils and principal parts and moods and voices and aspects and numbers, this is not something you would actually use in your day-to-day. Or is it? And that's the point. Is once you begin to understand the mindset of these types of this way of speaking, it does begin to influence how you speak. It does begin to influence how you understand what it is that you're saying and how it matters and what it means and how it comes across and how it gets conjugated and where it came from. Understanding all of the fundamentals allows you to become a better English speaker. Understanding Lisp. This is Lisp. If you're a programmer, you ever looked at, Lisp before? This is some ugly code compared to what it is that I write today. But learning Lisp and doing things in this style, these parens which express this recursion, is really, really critical. It allows you to, it forces you to think in a particular way. It forces you to go through the exercise of breaking down a problem in a particular way, in such that you are forced to understand the fundamentals of what it is we're doing. And so that's what we're going to do for markets. We're going to take a look at the Latin of markets. We're going to take a look at the Lisp of markets. We're going to go into the deep dive of the fundamentals of the markets. Now, I expect that by this time you appreciate that the whole of the markets are driven by a fairly straightforward bid-ask protocol. I'm just going to pull up Bittrex here, and we're going to go to the markets, and we're going to take a look at your classic bid-ask protocol page. Right? We're going to go to markets, and we're going to go to pick a market. Monaco. Sure. Sounds good. Bid-ask protocol. Here it is right here. This is what drives the market right here. These numbers, whatever people are putting up here, this is what causes the price to move here. This is what causes the chart to move. It's what this is. This is a derivative of this right here. If you want to interface with these things directly, like any good dragon would, you need to fundamentally understand that the real market makers are not sitting here spending all of their time working through these charts, sitting here putting in their orders. What they're doing is they're using the API. The API is what will free you from your seat. It will allow you to interface with the market directly. So the first week of the Way of the Dragon, we're actually going to talk exclusively about how to use the API to further this idea of signal generation. So in the second week, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the idea of signal generation and storytelling and in order to create a compelling story that people want to follow. And in the final week, we're going to bring it all together into a complete fighting style in order to move the market in the direction that we want, by doing potentially things that seem very foreign to a lot of people, especially if you're coming from the Way of the Dragon. So I invite you to open your mind and explore with me these ideas. The first one being the API. The API is critical. Every exchange has a different one, and that's just the way of it, right? If you type into Google Bittrex API, you will come up with a developer's guide for the API. Now, I don't actually expect you to be a developer. If you're looking at this and you're going, oh God, he's getting into the code, don't. Relax. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the understanding. We're going to learn to speak Latin, even though you don't necessarily want to speak Latin. We're going to learn how the API works, even though you're not necessarily going to write code for the API. It is a critical piece of the understanding. Without this understanding, you cannot learn the rest of what is required. And then if you need to hire a coder, which you really don't, there's plenty of good options for getting it done for free, then you can do that. But there's great ways, and I'll explore different ways of interfacing with this. So here is the public API. Just scrolling down against their page, they've got, sort of the setup here with getting started in general applications and libraries. They've got a couple of different wrappers that they have available to you. They have a deprecated API they have, that they want to get rid of. And what they have is they have their public API. This is where the API actually starts. The API is broken up into 3 distinct groups. The public API, public information available without an API key, account information for managing your account, and market information for programmatic trading of cryptocurrencies. So we're going to cover each of these today. Starting with the public API. The way the public API works is as follows. It's very simple. It's an HTTP request, just like the one your browser makes. So if you were to go over here and you were to take that API URL that I just copy-pasted and pasted into your browser, what you would get back is a message from, a message from the exchange detailing the market information. It starts with the success is true, no message, and then a result which contains all of the market information. Each piece of market information contains additional information about it. For instance, you have the logo URL that you can, use in whatever situation you want, to see the URL. Here's Dogecoin and everything. But the point being is that you can see all the different markets programmatically. And what traders do is they write bots against this API. The bot goes and it fetches this information, and it goes, okay, these are the markets that I can query against. BTC Burst, BTC Swift. Now, if you keep on going down, you'll see that the markets are not just limited to BTC. If you keep on going down, BTC comprises a large amount of these, certainly. Here we go. We got into the Ether pairs. Here's the Ether pairs, more BTC. Ether pair, more BTC pairs. Eventually, you might even see the USDT pairs. I thought I saw a USDT pair in there. Let's take a search. There we go. Here is BTC USDT, our classic Bitcoin tether market. And what it's telling us is very important information, right? That the market is active, when it was created, the different things that are traded against it, and then most importantly, the market currency and the base currency. This gets plugged into. This is a smaller version of sort of the same information. You have the get currencies. So here is. Sorry, it's different information. Here is the markets that are being traded. BTC Omni, BTC AMP. Here is the list of currencies that are available. And the minimum confirmations on them, the TX fee on them. You can query programmatically all of the information out of this information, right? You can even see the base address where they keep some of their coins at, so you can see where you can do auditing against them in this way and measure how much they have, right? Get ticker allows you to get the ticker for something, except it requires you, and here's the first time we encounter this, to specify a market. So now what we need to do is we need to go $market equals, and then BTC USDT, for instance. Sorry, that would be USDT BTC. There we go. Okay. What I've done here is I've pulled up the ticker for BTC USDT. If you sit here and refresh this, you can actually see the numbers change, okay, in real time. So if you're looking for how to understand how the market is changing over time and you want to do some sort of automated analysis on it, this is how you might do it. Is you might sit here and query this the whole time, right? Or you might come over here and get your market summaries. Here's the market summary, or finally get the full order book for something. Here's the full order book. I messed that up. That's fine. There we go. Market, USDT, BTC. And then it's also saying that you must specify a type. Type type required buy, sell, or both to specify the order book to return. So let's get both. Let's get both the buy and the sell order book. There we go. So now what we're actually looking at is the actual bid-ask prices for that market at that time. Coming back to here, taking a look at the market, you are programmatically pulling up this information right here. The 6,394 versus 6,392. This is what allows you to do your in-depth analysis. Sorry, not that one. Your in-depth analysis of this information. I'm going to show you later in the week how to do that in-depth analysis of this information and the problems associated with actually, doing that in-depth analysis. This is a lot of work, potentially, if you don't have the right tool set available. So the other thing that I'm going to do is provide you with that tool set. And that comes in the form of a bit of custom code that I have wrote to make your life very straightforward. And I hope you really take advantage of that opportunity because, well, later in the week we'll discuss what a huge opportunity that opportunity can look like. Going back to the developer documentation, we can get the market history, going all the way back, the latest trades that have occurred for a specific market. This allows you to look back in time, not just at the actual order books moving forward, or more order books in the present, but at the trades in time. Now, one thing I want to call your attention to with this particular API call, and this is something that we really are going to have to focus on more a little bit later. With this particular API call, we're going to need to do a little bit of magic, because when you call this, all this will give you is the latest 200 orders. If you want to go and look back in time at what the historical price was, that information isn't necessarily readily available. But that's a problem, again, we can solve with a little bit of tooling. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that soon. Going back to this, here are your market APIs. Now, the market APIs require you to do an API key. And the way that the API key works is that you have an API key and a secret key. And in order to call an API, in order to specify who you are, you must first specify your API key. So your API key can be potentially insecure. What makes it secure is that secret which you don't expose. And the way that the secret works is that what you have to do is you have to sign your message, your whole message, with your API, with your secret key, and then append that as your as the last parameter. So the way that this works is you take a cryptographic signature of this. You take a hash of this and then you cryptographically sign it with your secret key. Your API key, on the other side, they actually have the other side of that key, which allows them to decrypt your message and see if that really was see if you really did generate this hash. If you really did generate this hash, then everything goes through and then you're able to authenticate. The other thing that they keep they do is that they also make you append to this. It's really complex. They make you append to this. Say this was an authenticated call. We would need our API key. We would also need something called a nonce. And nonces are really important. The way nonces work is as follows. When you specify a nonce, what you're doing is you're saying this So let's just, I'm going to make up a number and I'm going to specify it as a nonce. Then I'm going to go on and I'm going to sign this whole message right here. And I'm going to sign it using my secret key. And then I'm going to say signature, my signature from that. Okay. Now this message can now be sent to them, and then you can go like this, and you'll give me an error, or give me, this is not a validated API. It will give me the response for this API key, and it will use up this nonce. This nonce is now no longer valid. In order to replay this message, you must change your nonce. You must say now nonces too. Changing the nonce requires you to re-sign this whole thing using your API secret key again, which results in a new signature. In this way, somebody can intercept a request from you, even though it has been signed and has all the information required. So long as you get that submitted once to Bittrex, it is no longer, that message is no longer valid anymore. They will say, invalid nonce, you can't reuse the nonce, you need to increment your nonce. Okay. In this way, your API key can get literally stolen. Doesn't matter, you can share it around. All that really matters is your secret key. That's why they call it the secret key. What this allows you to do is this allows you to query your account. You can query the balance of your account. You can query the balance of different individual currencies. You can query and get a new deposit address. If you allow it, if you have the permission set on your API key, you can even allow withdrawal. And it works the same way. What you do is you can say, give me an order. Here's the, previously you got your orders. You can say, here's the order history. Get the order history and get back some order UUIDs. Then you can specify, get me the details for this order and get the order history right here by specifying the UUID right here. In this way, you can compute all the things from your trade. You can get your deposit history and get your withdrawal history. So this allows you to actually query your current balance. And here is the market APIs, the best one of them all. The buy limit, the sell limit, the cancel an order, get your open orders. These are the ones that allow you to actually modify this right here. And this is how it works. Is what you do is you create the signals here in the market that you wish traders to see using these APIs right here. And so later in the week, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing more deep dives into how to extract this information, get useful information out of here, and create useful information, create useful information out of here. And I promise you, I'm going to do this in code that you can copy and paste. That you can just sit here and go, this is what he did, I'm going to do it too, and now it works. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this market information, we're going to create analysis or automated analysis around it, and then we're going to create automated signal generation around this fundamental information. But it really requires that you understand that anybody can come along here, make their API key, and start querying the information, getting the information out of the exchange in a completely programmatic way, and completely manipulating this information right here, programmatically, which allows you to programmatically manipulate this information right here. And this is what the signal traders are trading. This is what the way of the trader is all about. The technical analysis, bringing all of this information in and seeing what these things are actually doing in order to give us an idea of what they will do in the future. So I really invite you to go and look at some open source projects that are out there right now. There's some fantastic ones. One of my personal ones that I'm a contributor to is the Exchange project. That's Tim Moltner's Exchange project. Exchange is a Java library that provides a streamlined API for interacting with 60 different Bitcoin and altcoin exchanges. It provides a completely consistent interface for trading and accessing market data. If you're interested in interfacing with the API at all, I really do recommend checking out solutions like this one. Going and working against the individual raw APIs is a real bear, but I know that there are clone projects for this in a lot of different languages. If you want to do it in Python, if you want to do it in JavaScript, then go ahead. Go in and find different projects for making your life easy to interface with all of these different markets. Okay? And what we're going to do later in the week is we're going to copy paste some code straight out of here. Straight out of, some projects for this stuff, and we're going to make it work for us. We're going to turn it into reading the signals, reading the markets, and then doing signal generation on those markets by the end of the week, in terms of taking that market information and broadcasting it for more people to hear. And that's really exciting because I love this idea that we can, inform people about what it is that the markets are doing. We can take the information and digest it and create interesting information out of it. And if you're not a programmer, don't worry, you're fine. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be showing you what's possible. We're going to be showing you the mindset. We're going to be showing you the ideas. We're going to be showing you how it's done. And then take those ideas and implement them your own way. Maybe you're not a programmer, but you got a friend who is. Maybe you're not a programmer, but you want to learn. Maybe you're not a programmer, but you see what somebody else is doing with this stuff and can get involved in other ways. That's week 2 and week 3. Stick around. You're going to need to understand it all. And that is the way of the dragon. I appreciate you guys coming and taking this time with me. And I hope to see a lively discussion of where it is that we are headed in the future with regards to these exchanges, APIs, programmatic trading, bots, planning the trade, trading the plan, signal generation, market manipulation, and everything under the sun with regards to programmatically interfacing and extracting information for further analysis. And creating this information, creating these signals in a completely automated fashion. I look forward to seeing you the rest of this week, and I will talk to you very soon.